has fined Thames Water nearly £123 million following 2 investigations into the company. We brought you that breaking news a moment ago. We've got more details on it for you now. Matthew's here with those details, including a response from Thames Water.
Indeed. I mean, the first dramatic thing to say is this is the largest fine ever issued by Ofwat. So it's quite sizable, as you say, 123 million. But that's actually broken down into 2 separate investigations that Ofwat have just concluded into Thames Water. So the first is, won't be a surprise to anyone who's been following these things, it's into the treatment of sewage. Of course, Ofwat has been doing a nationwide look and investigation into the treatment of sewage water by various water companies. And what they've found in the case of Thames Water is that there are failings in their treatment of wastewater and sewage, which has been, of course, leaked into rivers and lakes right across the country, not just Thames Water. But it was a breach of their legal obligations and a failure both to the environment and to customers. So for that failing, they've issued a fine of £104.5 million, which in itself is the largest fine that Ofwat has ever issued. And then there's a second investigation, which is actually into the payment of dividends by Thames Water. So what Ofwat has looked at, and it's the first time it's ever used these powers, in fact, is whether or not the payments of dividends by Thames Water were in any way proportionate or reflective of its performance both for the environment and for customers. And it has effectively found that no, they weren't. And so it's fined Thames Water a further large fine as well.
18 or so.
Of 18 million, I think it is the 18.5, I think is the total. So, you know, the total of these 2 fines together is by far the largest that Thames Water has ever issued. And the other thing I think is interesting to say is that now Thames Water is effectively cash locked and it cannot now pay dividends without seeking approval from the regulator, which again is an extraordinary step. So we have a short statement from Thames Water who said, "We take our responsibility towards the environment very seriously and note that Ofwat acknowledges we've already made progress to address issues raised in the investigation relating to storm overflows. The dividends were declared following a consideration of the company's legal and regulatory obligations. Our lenders continue to support our liquidity position and our equity raise process continues." And I think you mentioned at the beginning, but the other thing that's important to note here is that Ofwat is very clear that these are not fines that will be ultimately paid by customers, but they'll be paid by investors and shareholders.
It's a really interesting position, this one, because typically you get to a point where the private markets no longer want to support a company that has so many restrictions and challenges in it. What this has drawn out so long is that there's these ever-tightening sort of rules and regulations, and at the same time, the private market does still, at the last moment, continue to step up. You wonder now whether extra fines, restrictions on ever paying dividends will start to draw a line under this, and you'll get to the point of the need for nationalisation, which might be what's needed here. You know,
well, and I was just about to say, many people feel that the only possible solution to this is nationalisation, because you may get a point where the wheels are so gummed up and there's simply no money, particularly, as you say, from private markets who are willing to back these things.
Yeah. Well, you would have thought we would have reached that already in the last year or so. I mean, it's a bizarre situation. Anyway, well, that's really interesting. Matthew, great stuff. Thanks so much.